A biting wind whipped her face, whipping up swirls of stinging snow. Along the avenue, gleaming with the lights of expensive shop windows, an elderly woman moved like a barely visible shadow. Stooped under the weight of years and her old coat, she shuffled slowly, her fingers tightly gripping a crumpled piece of paper. Snowflakes settled on the patched fabric, melting on her wrinkled cheeks. Her old-fashioned boots looked ready to fall apart. Grey hair was hidden under a grey scarf. She kept lifting the paper to her eyes, checking the address, and looking around tensely. "Here, I think this is it. Yes, the house number matches. I finally made it," she whispered, letting out a sigh of relief. She stopped before the glass doors of an upscale restaurant, from which soft light spilled out and muffled sounds of music could be heard. Shiny cars were parked nearby, dropping off elegantly dressed, laughing people. "Found a good time to beg," muttered one of the men with a strong scent of cologne, barely glancing at her before hurrying inside. Agnes seemed not to hear him. She pushed open the heavy glass door. She paused, stunned by the luxury. Gleaming chandeliers, exquisite furniture, dazzling decorations. Then she walked determinedly towards the reception desk. The young woman behind the counter, whose face had been welcoming just a moment ago, hardened instantly, her lips, painted bright red, curled in distaste. "You must have the wrong address," Tiffany said coldly. "Please leave the restaurant immediately. Otherwise, I'll call security." "My dear girl," Agnes stammered, bewildered. "I'm not leaving. I paid for a place in advance. I have the money." She genuinely didn't understand why she was being treated like this. Tiffany's eyebrows shot up. The corners of her mouth stretched into a sneer of contempt. "Are you kidding me? This is a respectable establishment, not a shelter. Get out!" Shock and bewilderment froze the elderly woman. "My God, why did they mistake me for a beggar? Yes, my clothes are old, but they're clean. I've never begged, not even during the leanest years," raced through her mind. Suddenly she was interrupted by Tiffany's icy shout. "Leon! Over here!" A moment later, a broad-shouldered security guard in uniform appeared beside her. "What's wrong, Tiffany? Problems?" "Yes, look. She says she's supposed to be here, and that she paid for a table. Do something." Leon measured the confused old woman with an assessing look. "All right, let's check. Your ID." With trembling hands, Agnes took a document carefully wrapped in a scarf from her inner pocket. She gently unfolded it and handed it over. Leon scanned the lines. "So, Agnes, 80 years old." He let out a whistle. "Listen, Grandma, maybe you're mistaken. Maybe you're looking for a diner, not a restaurant. Or straight to a homeless shelter," Tiffany added insolently. "No, I need this restaurant specifically." "Check, I booked a table," the woman insisted. Leon reluctantly dialed a number. The answer made his eyes widen. "Yes, indeed, there's a reservation, and it's even paid for. But..." The guard hesitated, choosing his words. "You see, this is an upscale restaurant. A particular clientele gathers here. Respected people of the city. I'm sorry, but you don't belong here." The words pierced Agnes with a sharp pain. "Why are they like this? I haven't harmed anyone. People used to be different. They supported each other. And now what? How can they be like this?" She tormented herself, but she wasn't going to back down. She knew what she had come for. "I didn't come here to eat. I need to see your manager." "See the manager?" Tiffany and Leon stared at her, jaws slack. As Agnes, quietly picking up her passport, began to climb the wide staircase, Tiffany looked ready to explode with rage. "And you're just standing there, not doing anything? Don't you realize what will happen when this old beggar woman crawls up to these respected guests of ours?" she hissed at Leon. "What am I supposed to do?" The guard shrugged. "Come on, Tiffany, calm down. The manager will kick her out in no time." "Kick her out? And us with her? Do you know how hard I worked to get this job? I don't want to lose everything because of some old woman. I need to call the manager, warn him before she gets up there." She frantically dialed the number. Damn it! No answer. What a day! Tiffany continued to rant. Wonder why she even bothered coming here. Leon smirked. You too! Tiffany turned away dramatically towards her phone. Agnes, each step a climb up Mount Calvary, finally reached the top. Her legs trembled from the strain and humiliation. Finally the stairs are over, she sighed. Pushing open the heavy door with difficulty, she found herself in a huge hall filled with chatter and laughter. Bright, blinding light from countless decorations made her squint. Tables were groaning with exquisite dishes. Waiters scurried with gilded trays. At the tables sat men in expensive suits and women in evening gowns, exuding arrogance and self-satisfaction. Agnes felt out of place. She pressed herself against the wall in a corner, trying to disappear. But the gaze of an arrogant man instantly found her. His finger pointed directly at her. What is this? This isn't a homeless shelter. Get her out of here immediately. It's disgusting to look at. Hey, waiter! Are you deaf? The young man who happened to be in his path paled. Yes, of course. I'll inform the management. We'll fix this. Don't worry. The slightly drunk crowd in the hall erupted in approving shouts and sarcastic remarks. That's right, Arthur. These vermin have gotten completely out of hand. A lady in a sparkling dress, loaded with bracelets, exclaimed. They crawl everywhere the money is. Now they've even snuck into a restaurant. What's security doing? Agnes closed her eyes in horror. She had never experienced such humiliation. She wanted to sink through the floor, disappear. A woman who was called Brenda joined the mockery. Sparkling with alcohol and malicious glee, she laughed loudly. Grandma, isn't it a bit late for you to be going to restaurants? At your age, people think about the afterlife. Maybe you want to join our table, but please not near me. I have an allergy to that smell. Brenda's booming laughter echoed through the hall. The elderly woman could barely hold back tears at the monstrous injustice. What is wrong with them? Yes, I'm old, but that's no reason to mock me like this. They'll be old themselves one day. Why don't they understand? It wasn't like this before. We respected our elders, regardless of wealth. She silently cried out, but her tongue was numb. She stood, with her head bowed, listening to the stream of foul words, determined to stand her ground, to achieve her goal. But the stream of taunts didn't dry up. I didn't pay this kind of money to see this eyesore. Why do we have to put up with this? Where is the manager looking? Waiters hid, whispering. Many felt sorry for the old woman, but no one dared contradict the drunk, rich guests. These people brought in huge profits, and no one wanted to lose their job in a prestigious place. Only a young waitress named Chloe clenched her fists. It was unbearably painful for her to watch how they were trampling on a person just because of old age and poverty. They're not even people. How can you humiliate an elderly person like that? I'm going to the manager right now, she declared resolutely. Chloe, wait. You won't achieve anything. The manager is always on the guest's side. They bring the money, and she'll be thrown out anyway. You've only been here a week. Don't stick your neck out, her colleagues urged her. You know, Chloe replied with shining eyes, there are things in life more valuable than money, but it seems you wouldn't know them. She turned and ran out of the hall. The atmosphere heated up. The guests were completely out of control. Some lanky man swaying approached Agnes smirking. I like it. It's even funny. Well, Grandma, will you sing for us? Or dance? Show us your moves. He clapped his hands loudly. Others joined in. The hall shook with laughter. Agnes couldn't bear this torture any more. Her heart clenched. Tears flowed down her cheeks. Her legs turned to cotton. Dragging them with difficulty, she shuffled towards the exit. She hadn't taken more than a few steps when the door swung open. A tall, well-built man with a neat beard appeared in the doorway. Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on here? He asked loudly, looking around the hall. Agnes froze. A jolt went through her. David, my David, my dear. Her gaze was fixed on him. How he's grown up. He's become a man, and he looks so much like John, his father. The same nose, eyes, chin. Tears flowed again, but now from sudden, unbearable joy. She forgot the humiliation, the pain. The man glanced at her briefly, but quickly turned back to the guests. He was more interested in their mood. "David," Arthur said, "everything's perfect as usual. It's just her—" Arthur pointed at Agnes. "Why is she here? Admit it. She doesn't belong here." "Yes, David. Get rid of her," others supported. "Don't embarrass yourself. Don't spoil our evening." Of course, David hastened to diffuse the situation. "This is just a misunderstanding. We'll sort everything out now. As compensation, dessert on the house. No one will interrupt your relaxation anymore." He turned to the frozen woman. "And you, come with me." He didn't recognize me. David was tiny then, about 6. So many years have passed. A lifetime. He could have forgotten, she whispered silently, wiping away a tear. "Do you hear me?" David repeated, anxious to get rid of the unwelcome sight as quickly as possible. Yes, she answered hastily, snapping out of her memories. As soon as the hall door closed, David said, "Hello, I am David, the restaurant manager. I was told the guests behaved inappropriately. I apologize for them. They weren't expecting this. I'm willing to offer you compensation. I know you paid for a table, you'll get double back. You can eat and buy something for yourself." He had, of course, noticed her shabby clothes. It was no wonder she was mistaken for a beggar. People like her needed money. The more, the better. But where did she get the money for a table? It's expensive. And why? Anyway, it doesn't matter, he decided, wanting to get this situation over with quickly. "Let me escort you out." "Please go downstairs," he said, pointing towards the stairs. Agnes paled. She couldn't believe her ears. This was her David, a grown, respectable man, but to her, still the same child, and he was kicking her out too. Pain pierced her through and through. The guests' insults were nothing compared to this. "No! I won't leave until I talk to him. He needs to know the truth." Lost in thought, she didn't notice she had reached the bottom. David had already taken out his wallet. "Here, take this." He held out the bills. "This is all I can do for you." She looked at the money. Her heart felt like it would break, but she found the strength. I won't take the money," she said quietly. "Please, let me stay. Talk to you." David felt his patience wearing thin. What a nuisance! How do I get rid of her? His nerves were stretched taut. One more minute and he would lose it. Spending time on strangers wasn't his style. "I'm sorry, I'm very busy," he said coldly. "I don't have time for idle chatter with strangers. Please understand. But I'm not a stranger. I'm—" "Your mother." The words almost escaped her lips, but she stopped herself. Tiffany and Leon exchanged glances, simultaneously tapping a finger against their temples. "See? I told you she wasn't all there." David didn't believe her. "Listen, this is going too far. What do you think you're doing? That's a lie. My mother died many years ago. The money is yours. Take it if you want. If not, leave. Leon, handle this." A moment later, David was already climbing the stairs, disappearing from view. "What are you waiting for? Get out!" Leon commanded. The elderly woman could barely stand, as if struck by a blow. The guard closed the door behind her, turning the key. Exhausted, she sank onto a nearby bench and began to weep. It had grown dark outside. The snow continued to fall, mixing with the tears on her face. Everything had collapsed. And yet, for so many years, she had saved every penny from her meagre pension to pay for a place here, where her son worked. Today was that day. This morning she had imagined seeing her dear David, telling him everything, seeing him now and then. In her emotional turmoil, she didn't notice the wind had picked up. Her hands were red with cold. Her old mittens were gone. Lost them. Ah, what does it matter now? She tucked her frozen hands into her coat pockets. Suddenly, her fingers brushed against something soft in one of her pockets. An envelope. My God, how could I forget? His childhood photo is in here. He's 6 years old here. He must remember. Then he'll listen. From the onslaught of humiliation and pain, she had forgotten the most important thing she had to show the person she held dear. Agnes decided to wait until her son left work. Then she would rush to him. Time dragged on unbearably. It felt like an eternity. Finally, the restaurant door opened. Among the few people coming out was David. He had already opened his car door, tossing casually to the driver, "Home!" "Wait! My dear!" she cried out with her last bit of strength, breathless. "You again? Listen, just leave quietly, otherwise I'll call the police," David muttered irritably, getting into the car. "Let's go," he commanded, but then stopped short. "No. Wait!" Seeing the photo in her hands, he got out of the car. "Where did you get that photo?" he asked, his face full of bewilderment. "When you were 6. A photographer came to our village," she began, trembling with cold and emotion. "So we took a photo as a keepsake. Don't you remember at all? I had 2 pictures. One got lost." "No, it wasn't lost." David's mind raced. He knew for sure. That picture was with him at the orphanage, then with his foster parents, and now was kept in an old yellowed album. "But how?" "They told me my mother died. From a heart attack." Questions swarmed, finding no answers. Agnes was completely frozen, shivering. "Let's go," David said, unexpectedly softening. "I'll get you some tea. We can talk." She readily agreed. She was happy just to be near her son. While her heart filled with quiet joy, a storm raged in David's soul. Emotions overflowed, joy at the possibility of finding her, and burning resentment, even hatred, for being abandoned. His foster parents gave him a home, education, upbringing, but they were too strict, demanding. He always felt deprived of warmth. It could have been different with his real mother. It could have, but it wasn't. "Why did you abandon me?" he asked sharply. "And now suddenly, you're trying to come back. Isn't it a bit late?" "Son, listen to me," she asked, feeling tears well up. "I'll tell you everything, just please don't interrupt." She began her long, sad story about life in a large rural family, about early orphanage, about the hard lot of an older sister, about late love for David's father, about his tragic death, about the death of her mother, about how she found out she was pregnant, how you, son, became the only meaning, about how she wanted to be a guardian angel. "Cared for me, loved me, a gift of fate?" David interrupted her bitterly, forgetting his promise. "What are you saying? Why did you betray me by giving me away to an orphanage? I don't remember your care, but I remember the grey walls of the orphanage and the strict caretakers very well. If you came to ask for forgiveness, don't hope for it. Even your age won't help." Resentment contorted his face. Agnes wilted. The idyll didn't last long. She had so hoped the photo would melt his heart. But no. "Wait, David, I'll explain everything," she began, but he cut her off sharply. "I don't need your explanations, and don't call me that. I don't believe you anyway," he said bitterly. Memories flooded back. So many years had passed. He was already over 50, but the pain hadn't faded. He remembered waiting for his mother at the orphanage every Sunday. She never came. Instead, a foster family arrived. Agnes didn't know how to atone for her guilt. She would never forget the day she brought little David to the orphanage. His tears, his pleas not to leave him in a strange house. But she had no choice. She was herself going to a strange house, the hospital perhaps forever. "Son, believe me, I had no other choice," she continued quietly. "My heart problems started long ago, then severe pains, attacks. How I blamed myself for not going to the doctors sooner. And when I did go, it was too late. They said only an operation would save me, and even then, the chances were small. And if I survived, long treatment. I was scared, son. I had no one to leave you with." She begged her brothers and sisters to take him while she was in the hospital. "Agnes," they would say, "we would take him, but we have our own children. We need to feed and clothe them. And that costs money. You're David. No, we can't manage." "David," Agnes corrected herself. "I had to put you in the orphanage, just for a while. But it turned out forever. Seeing that he was listening, no longer interrupting, she continued. A miracle happened. The operation was successful. After 6 weeks, I was discharged. Son, I went straight to the orphanage for you, but what I feared most had happened. You had already been given away to foster parents. I begged them for their address, but the director was adamant. She refused point blank. Her voice trembled. From that day on, life lost its meaning. I lived only for the dream of seeing you someday. And today is the best day. My dream came true. I saw you. I won't stop thanking God for this. David looked at her wrinkled face for a long time, trying to find familiar features, but couldn't. He had no photos of his mother left. Time had erased her image from his memory. The woman was telling her story so sincerely that he caught himself thinking. Her words didn't sound like lies. Maybe it was a fairy tale, but he believed her. And how did you find me? After so many years, he asked. I'll tell you, son. A year ago in the park, I met a woman. We used to work together. Her daughter is the founder of a charity foundation, helps place children in foster families. Perhaps one shouldn't do this, but she was moved by my story. She gathered information about the family you grew up in, and then she helped me find you. Son, how successful you are, how clever. I will be proud of you. Agnes understood. He wouldn't throw his arms around her neck, wouldn't call her mother. Betrayal couldn't be erased, but maybe someday he could understand and forgive. That forgiveness would be her greatest reward. The silence that fell was broken by David. How are you living now? How is your health? It's just, you look. He was embarrassed. I just look like a homeless person, she finished quietly for him. Many people told me that today. No, I'm not homeless, although I don't have my own place. I lost my parents' house, my nephews and nieces. They tricked me, took my home. But I have somewhere to live. I rent a small room. Don't worry, son. The important thing is that you are doing well. Time flew by unnoticed while they talked. It was completely dark outside. The snow was still falling. May I give you a ride home? David offered unexpectedly. Yes, of course, David, she agreed. After some time, she hurried. Stop here, son. It's close from here, just a couple of minutes. Are you sure? He asked. No, don't worry. Thank you for listening. I will pray for you for the rest of my days. David didn't take his eyes off her until she disappeared around the corner of the building. Agnes told him almost the whole truth. Only one thing she hid, something she was ashamed to talk about. She had indeed been homeless for a long time, living in a shelter. And then a janitor in the courtyard where she often sat on a bench took pity on her. He had a tiny closet room where there was only room for tools, a cot, and a stool. That's where Agnes lived. She sank onto the cot. Her legs ached, her head throbbed, but she was happy for the first time in many, many years. She had the most beautiful dream, a dream where she was beside her son. A few days later, there was a knock at the closet room. David stood at the threshold. How did you find me, son? She asked, surprised. You found me. Now it's my turn, he replied, smiling, not even noticing his tone had softened. Let's go, he suggested. David, where? Agnes was even more surprised. To our place. I'll introduce you to my wife and grandchildren. You have 3 of them. She nearly collapsed with joy. And here, take this. David held out a key to her. I have a small apartment. It's been empty for a long time. Now you'll live there. See how things turn out. Agnes had never complained about her fate, but happiness found her anyway, though in her twilight years. It found her and warmed her, like a warm sun. This happiness was given by her son, who was able to understand and forgive